Deputy Minister of Trade of the Republic of Turkey, Excellency Gonca Yılmaz Batur, Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry of the Philippines, my dear friend, Excellency Seferino Rodolfo, Ambassador of Turkey to Manila, Excellency Artemis Sümer, Ambassador of the Philippines to Ankara, also the Chairman of ASEAN Ankara Committee, I also dear friend Raul Hernandez, dear trade attaches, panelists, business representatives of Turkey and Philippines, dear participants and distinguished guests, welcome. I would like to first of all thank everybody, starting with our chairman, dear President Nail Olpak, giving so much support for us about our activities in the Asia-Pacific region. Thank you, sir. Since 1985, DEİK has been trying to support economical ties around the globe, trying to show the Turkish business community, business relations, our products, our growth to the different business communities all around the globe. We work effortlessly, trying to show the different side of the world, our economical ability, our technology, and our trade path. Philippines, which I'm the chairman of the Philippines Council, has been tremendously active in the Turkish economical world. We're trying to grow our trade every day with a different angle and different sectors, starting with the defense sector, which has been very, very active between Philippines and Turkey. We've reached an incredible amount of trade volume today. But sitting in the strategical position, both countries, Philippines and Turkey, plays a big role. Both countries play a big key role in their economical and strategical region. That's why both of the countries seems very, very similar in the positioning in the region. Being understand that a close relationship with our leadership, throughout the governments, that has brought to a different significant level of our relationship. Our government's been visiting Philippines, the Philippines delegation is visiting Turkey, through our different agreements between each other. It has brought us to a different path of us. But even today, during these unfoldful times, even this webinar shows what kind of ties we have between each other. So again, I really thank participants to coming up here, and dear ministers, dear ambassadors, giving us the support and giving us the opportunity to explore our relationship. With having said that, I would like to first of all immediately hand over the voice to our great supporter, our President Nail Olpak, and then his remarks. Mr. President, thank you. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, İlkan Bey. Thank you. It's my honor to welcome you again on behalf of Foreign Economic Relations Board of Turkey, DEİK, and myself. I wish a healthy day to all of us, of course, to our deputy ministers, to our ambassadors, business representatives of both countries, trade attaches, and all the panelists. Yes, it is a pleasure to meet our dear friends from, let me say, west of the Pacific Ocean. Today, we are going to discuss the business and investment environment and opportunities in Philippines with our esteemed ministers and ambassadors. If I want to start with a touch to the coronavirus, coronavirus represents a global paradigm shift in way we do business so far. Now, more than ever, companies will need to be increasingly mobile. That is, we are also doing. That makes thinking digital and building in resilience. Business will need to make significant change even as consumer habits change, supply chains readapt and restructure. Just to remind that we were all speaking about globalization for years. Now we start really speaking about globalization recently. And it seems we are going to concentrate more on that after this pandemic situation or during this pandemic situation. We are discussing because the risk of depending on a single source, which increase the vulnerability of supply chain. Before, when we were speaking about competition, we were discussing about the volume if you are producing enough products, I mean, from point of volume, that was somehow had been called that it was easy for you to compute. But now we are speaking about the risk of bounding to one supplier or limited suppliers. Also, we are questioning logistics again. And I believe we are going to talk more about the concept of accessibility, but rather than the concept of proximity or distance. Because when we speak about logistics, we speak about distance. Is it far or near to you? But pandemic also taught something that a product or a service may be quite near to you, but if it is not available, that is really a problem. So as business community, we should speak about and we should concentrate this point, I believe. And the market diversification and rethinking of global supply chain management in a shifting trade environment, potential new markets have gained an increased significance, arguably more than ever. And it seems not only our daily habits or style of doing business is moving towards to the new normal, but also even finance sector is shifting to an alternative role. For instance, so far, out of their normal ways, federal banks started direct investment support programs, which was not very common so far. So I firmly believe that those who are capable of adapting to difficult conditions and those who could manage to keep the supply chain, who can give sufficient confidence to counterparts, will lead the change for a better world and will be the winner. So after this point, if I continue the position of our countries, yes, we know the importance of Philippines as a member of ASEAN and also an APEC, and one of the dynamic economies with the highest growth rate in the Pacific region. And thanks to our relations with Philippines, I mean, from point of political, economic, especially for defense industry and cultural fields. And as a sign to give an importance to our country, to Asia region, Mr. Mevlüt Çavuşoğlu, our Minister for Foreign Affairs, had launched Asia New Initiative just 1 year ago. In this context, yes, we may continue, but when we look at our bilateral trade, you know, it is less than 300 million. And as president of the business community, I think the responsibility, of course, with the supports of our ministers, our trade attaches, our ambassadors, the main responsibility belongs to us. What I want to say a few words about that, we should again look at the position of, from point of Philippines position in the ASEAN market. We know the importance, we know the market's potential. And also we know that Philippines is one of the most comfortable countries to live in Asia for foreigners. This is also important. But when we look at from our side, also we see that Philippines imports last year from China was about 26 billion US dollar. I believe, yes, after this pandemic position, I don't want to say they are going to cut it down, but bounding to one supplier so much has also some risks. I believe as business community of Turkish side, we can have some part from that. What I want to say finally, as DEİK, as the Foreign Economic Relations Board of Turkey, we are a business platform which have been acting for 35 years with 146 country-to-country business councils. And our Turkey-Philippines Business Council, which was founded 9 years ago, now has been running under leadership of İlkem Şahin. During the pandemic also, we are, as we had discussed a little bit just before the program, we are not slowing down our business as DEİK. We are having daily 5, even sometimes 10 video conferences, and we believe it is a little bit more going to be like that. As the Turkish and Philippines business world, I believe that we will move forward by bonding with each other and more closely in the coming period. Thank you for all. Thank you for participation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, I would like to have, quickly as possible, our Deputy Minister, Excellency Gonca Yılmaz Batur. Excellency Deputy Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Mr. Şahin. Dear Deputy Minister, my friend, Mr. Seferino Rodolfo, dear ambassadors, Mrs. Sümer and Mr. Hernandez, dear Chairman of the DEİK, Mr. Olpak, İlkan Bey, my friend from Far East and Eastern, trips. It's a great pleasure for me to attend to this meeting, Reigniting the Southeast Asia Cooperation online seminar. The name itself carries very promising outcomes, so I hope that this meeting will be a very fruitful one for all the participants. And as our friends here already mentioned, we are passing through very unprecedented and challenging times. I hope our friends in Philippines are staying healthy and safe, first of all. Today, I'm sure that we will have a good opportunity to share our vision and ideas to enhance cooperation between Turkey and the Philippines on both regional and international levels. We came together with my colleague, Mr. Rodolfo, on April 5th last year, 2019, and we assessed bilateral economic relations and macroeconomic developments in detail. Since then, unfortunately, the circumstances have changed a lot. The pandemic has triggered the most severe recession in recently, nearly a century, and is causing huge damage to people's health, jobs, and businesses and well-being all over the world. And since the beginning of the pandemic, as the Turkish government, we supported people and businesses to adapt to a post-COVID world through the help of our strong healthcare systems. As we emerge from the worst of the crisis, we will have an opportunity to build back better. The trade always finds its own way to grow. But now I believe we need to support the businesses more than we do at any time as a responsibility of the both governments. And in this respect, we will have an opportunity to upgrade our bilateral collaboration to ensure that the recovery delivers an economic and bilateral trade cooperation pattern, which will be more resilient, more inclusive, and more sustainable, both for Turkey and the Philippines. As Mr. Chairman already made an introduction, in 2019, the total GDP of all ASEAN states was approximately $9.34 trillion, with a significant increase from the previous years. And in fact, the GDP of the ASEAN region had been rising steeply for years, reflecting the region's thriving economy. Although the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the IMF, all forecast slowdown in recession in regional growth in 2020 as a result of the pandemic economic shock, now we observe that ASEAN economies are better prepared than they were in the Asian financial crisis that hit the region more than 2 decades ago. The economic shock from COVID-19 may be deeper and longer lasting, but international organizations now expect a strong rebound in the following years when the negative effects of the virus diminish. So I believe we will find important economic and trade collaboration opportunities across countries in the region. In this regard, Asia ANU initiative was launched by our Foreign Ministry on August 6, 2019. The initiative aims to improve ties with Asian countries in different areas and will be shaping Turkey's future diplomacy towards the region. Moreover, as you know, we became a sectoral dialogue partner with the ASEAN in 2017 to carry our relations in the Southeast Asia region to the next stage. With this status, we have been actively exploring new opportunities for cooperation with the ASEAN countries in many different areas, I would like to give some examples such as public-private partnership, services sectors, cooperation in customs, digital economy, postal services, development of e-commerce capabilities of the SMEs, consultancy and contracting services, defense industry. We can expand this list depending on our capabilities, needs, and requirements. In 2019, we realized a trade volume of $55.6 billion with the Asian Pacific region. The majority of this figure, unfortunately, $45.2 billion of this figure comes from our imports as Turkey. As of 2019, our business people have made investments worth of approximately $1 billion in the region. These figures, I guess, reflect Turkey's ever-increasing economic and trade relations and interest, of course, in the region. These are important figures. And let me give you a brief information on Turkey and the Philippines' bilateral commercial and economic relations. In 2019, our exports to Philippines decreased to $124 million. And it was a 30% decline when compared to the previous year, while our imports increased to $137 million in the same period, a 12% increase compared to the previous year. Particularly, wheat flour was the main reason for this decrease in our exports due to the safeguard measures that were implemented by Philippines. Just to illustrate, in 2018, the exports was around 12 million just for one item, while those 12 million decreased to 6 million in 2019. Our aim is, of course, to increase this bilateral trade volume to a level which will reflect our country's potential. 6 million, 12 million, these figures are really very low. Even we shouldn't be mentioning these here, but it seems that with the total $250, $260 million worth of trade volume between countries, I guess that we have to look for opportunities to double up, to triple up this value. And we should start with a target, as we have already discussed my colleague in last April, with a target of $500 million at least, of course, at a balanced composition. And this is very doable. We both believe that this is a very doable figure in the near future. In this regard, we shall focus on products and services which have a good trade potential between our countries more. According to our analysis, industrial goods such as electrical machineries and cables, iron and steel products, automotive industry and spare parts, ships and other naval vehicles, heating and cooling systems, for agricultural products such as sea products, poultry, fruits, biscuits, sugar and confectionery products with chocolates. These are just examples. These can be subjected to Turkey's export portfolio to Philippines. And I believe that there is a similar list from the Philippines side to increase the current structure, current bilateral trade volume from where it is to where it should be. As for services sectors, we see strong cooperation and partnership potential in contracting and engineering consultancy sectors, defense industry, information and communication technology, civil aviation, tourism, education, and maritime. These are also very strong potential areas for both countries, not only one-sided trade flow, but these are the areas I mentioned are all both-sided potential trade areas. So there is a potential, but we should go and take it. And the first session of the Turkey-Philippines Joint Economic Commission meeting was held in Ankara in February 2018. Actually, if it was not for the pandemic, we were planning to have the second meeting in early 2020. I guess that we will be making up our preparations for the second one, since we are very used to online video conference organizations as of today, it can be also an opportunity for us to utilize this kind of instruments. In the first GEC meeting, many important decisions were made on many diversified subjects. For example, as I mentioned, diversification of bilateral trade in potential products, fostering SMEs competitiveness in both countries, aviation, maritime services, agriculture, construction, defense industry, and tourism. These were the main areas which were mainly highlighted, touched upon throughout the JEC meeting. And in addition to that, a memorandum of understanding on agricultural cooperation and a memorandum of understanding between the Investment Support and Promotion Agency of Turkey and the Philippine Investment Board were signed. We hope to expand upon and deepen our collaboration with Philippines on these areas more. And I would like to highlight that under the leadership of President Duterte, Philippines has embarked on a comprehensive infrastructure project, which we know as Build, Build and Build, BBB. And to our knowledge, BBB has 75 big infrastructure projects, and it will cost approximately $170 billion. Therefore, the BBB seems to give momentous opportunities for contracting companies as well. Our overseas contracting services sector has undertaken more than 10,200 projects in 127 countries, amounting to nearly $404 billion since 1972. Moreover, we have very strong technical consultancy companies which have a cumulative project amounting to $2.4 billion. Therefore, I'm proud to say that Turkey is among the top players, top global players in this sector. And according to our records, the Asia-Pacific countries have a share of 3.1% in the total project portfolio of Turkish contractors, with a figure of $12.4 billion. At this step, I regret to say that Turkish companies have not realized a significant construction project in the Philippines so far. Henceforth, we think that our contracting companies should undertake projects under the BBB initiative and transfer technical expertise to Philippines in this field. Furthermore, in the last years, the public-private partnership projects has been gaining momentum in the Philippines, and PPP Center was established. Similarly, we may share our legislative and practical expertise in the area of PPP with our colleagues and counterparts in Philippines. We are very ready to share our know-how at this. And we know that, as Mr. Şahin has already mentioned, defense industry is another important cooperation field, and the Memorandum of Understanding on Defense Industry Cooperation signed in 2018, I believe is a milestone in the collaboration in this field between the two countries. Turkish defense companies such as Aselsan, Mechanical and Chemical Industry Cooperation, Samsun Yurt Savunma, and many others have been active in the Philippines market, particularly starting from 2012. And we have a deep interest in developing our existing cooperation with the Philippines in this area, in the defense sector, and we are happy to see further projects in the coming years. I believe DEİK Turkey Philippines Business Council constitutes a very important platform to improve our bilateral trade and economic relations, and in this regard, we should focus on keeping alive relations between business communities under this platform. We want cooperation between our countries not to be only limited to trade. This is another important area I would like to touch upon given this opportunity. We have to spread it to different areas, especially investment. Unfortunately, foreign direct investment flow between Turkey and the Philippines almost does not exist. Agreement on avoidance of double taxation, entered into force on January 11th in 2016. Investment promotion and reciprocal protection agreement entered into force on March 18, 2009. I believe that Turkey and the Philippines need to organize opportunities for various activities for Turkish and Filipino investors to make use of the benefits of these two agreements better. Taken as a whole, I would like to underline that ASEAN region is increasingly becoming economic center of gravity, and the Philippines is one of the most dynamic countries in the region with its economy and with its newly put into implementation initiatives. Therefore, we are very eager to increase and diversify our relations with Philippines. I would like to conclude my words by expressing my pleasure to address you here today once again. Unfortunately, I have to leave the meeting a little bit earlier. I have to leave it at around 11:20. So I want to apologize before I leave after your speeches, of course. Thanks in advance for your understanding, and thank you very much, Mr. Şahin. We cannot hear.
I apologize, Excellency Batur. Thank you so much for your kind words. I know that you have so much knowledge about the Philippines, and I would like to remind your promise that you will visit the Philippines with us, our DEİK delegation. So I would like to get your promise that your first visit, that outside visit to after this pandemic time. So I would like to get that. It will lead to Manila, because I know you promised.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam. I appreciate it. Now I would like to give the floor to immediately, because Excellency Batur is going to leave soon. So I would like to give the floor immediately to my dear good old friend, Excellency Rodolfo. Sir, floor is yours. You are more Turkish than us anyway, so Turkey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zain. So my very good friend. So Philippine Ambassador to Turkey, His Excellency Raul Hernandez. Turkish Ambassador to the Philippines, Her Excellency Ms. Artemis Zumer. Deputy Minister of Trade, the Honorable Gonca Ilmas Batur, my very good friend. I still remember visiting Istanbul, and for you, I am very thankful that you went all the way from Ankara, where your office is, to personally meet me in Istanbul last year. DEİK President, President Nail Olbak, Turkey-Philippine Business Council Chairperson, as I mentioned, my very good friend, İlkem Zain. Philippines-Turkey Business Council Chairperson, Mr. Ernesto Chua. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, merhaba. Good afternoon from Manila. It's already afternoon here. I am happy to digitally see you all today, in spite of the global pandemic that the world continues to bravely face. The first time I set foot in Turkey was in February 2018, when I had the opportunity of being part of the Philippine Economic Minister Ramon Lopez official delegation, which convened the first ever Philippines-Turkey Joint Committee on Economic and Trade Cooperation, or JCETC, along with our Turkish host, led by then Minister of Defense Nurettin Canikli, and with the overwhelming support of both the Philippine and Turkish embassies. It took almost 2 decades for that inaugural Philippines-Turkey JCETC to finally be realized. But since then, high-level officials from both of our countries have been eyeing, because since then, we have been eyeing a JCETC since 1999. But after that 2018 visit, we were all happy to have finally embarked on that high-level economic cooperation meeting, as we were able to personally witness ourselves that there was indeed vast business opportunities that remain untapped between the Philippines and Turkey. Our first JCETC also opened our eyes to a lot of similarities, as well as approach to our regional cooperation, as was mentioned earlier by Mr. Zain, from our country's strong economic performances. I remember that in early 2018, we were both at that time sadly coming off from extremist attacks. The coup attempt in Turkey in 2016 and the Marawi siege in southern Philippines in 2017. But good thing about our two countries, our economies, is that we are able to immediately bounce back from these setbacks, as I do believe that we will be able to do so with this COVID-19 pandemic. Turkey turned an impressive 11.1% growth by the third quarter of 2017, while the Philippines posted a 7% full growth in 2017, asserting that indeed we are able to bounce back quickly. It is this common history of swift recovery in spite of tough times that resonates so well with me even today, with more than 2 years after my initial visit to Turkey. Now, immediately after the first JCETC, a number of business missions were arranged between our countries. Many of these missions were organized through the kind assistance of the Turkey-Philippine Business Council led by İlkem Sayın and the able help of his counterpart based here in the Philippines, Mr. Ernesto Chua. During these business exchanges, preliminary discussions were made for projects that range from manufacturing, shipbuilding, energy, mass housing projects, agribusiness, manpower services, and even filmmaking. In fact, just early this year, another Turkish romantic drama series starring Birse Akalay and Ibrahim Çelikol was shown in mainstream Philippine television. It was called here Price of Passion. In Turkey, it is known for its original title. I don't know if I can pronounce this correctly. It's Siya Dayak Ask. Another one was shown in 2018 under the title Wings of Love in the Philippines, or Bena, Sevmeyi and Lat, starring Kadir Dogulu and Sedan Bakan. We hope there will finally be an opportunity to do a movie co-production for the Philippines and Turkey in the future, whether it be live action or maybe even digital, considering the strong animation industry in the Philippines and the global footprint and success of Turkey in the global cinema. There are, Madam Batur, when we last discussed last year, I think it was April, we agreed that it will not take another 20 years before we follow up on the first JCETC meeting. And I firmly remember extending the invitation for us to have the JCETC early part of 2020. If not for the pandemic, we would have already implemented that agreement. Nevertheless, I reiterate that we are very much willing to host the JCETC in Manila, maybe early part of 2021. And prior to that, maybe we could already have Zoom meetings, digital meetings, so that we could take advantage of opportunities of preparing for the JCETC. Now, Madam Minister, Minister Batur, and my colleagues and friends, let me just brief you quickly about what is happening in the Philippines. Our ministry, the Department of Trade and Industry, has been coordinating with interagency officials with efforts aimed at addressing the emergency recovery and the resiliency stages of our fight against the COVID. At this point, let me thank the support extended by our Turkish friends. Many of them coursed through our embassy and the DEİK when the Philippines was trying to get hold of possible Turkish suppliers of critical items that we needed to face COVID-19, from medical equipment, face masks, and even active pharmaceutical ingredients or APIs, because our traditional sources of these critical products at that time implemented various export bans or export restrictions. You could also see that these are products that would be very good for Turkey to explore investing in the Philippines or exporting to the Philippines. As was mentioned earlier by Madam Minister Batur, the Philippines is dependent quite heavily in one particular partner. With that particular partner, it accounts for about 25% of our exports and the same about 25% of our imports, including of these critical items. So it's an opportunity because as we also try to diversify our sources of products of our imports, and as we also try to diversify our export markets, indeed our discussions with Turkey and our collaboration with Turkish business partners would be very, very instrumental. I understand too that the generosity of Turkey continues to be felt to this day your help in our COVID-19 fight with the recent donation of 100,000 face masks from Mr. Ilkim Zain. COVID has significantly affected everyone. We have a high number of infection in the Philippines. As of August 16, our total tests that we have run, individual tests, reach already about 2 million. And the good thing is that the total negative results from these tests is about 92%, and the positive is only about 8%. And the recovery rate is 70%, with total deaths of about 2,665, or only 1.65% of total tested positive, or 0.14% of total tests. Of course, every life is important, but we take note that the rate of positivity and the mortality rate and those who are critically ill when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic in the Philippines is very, very low. And even during the most critical period of the quarantines that we have implemented, we are proud to say that we have been able to, our essential businesses have been able to operate. Our forum is indeed very timely because by tomorrow, as was announced last night by the President, the National Capital Region will already be reverting to a more open quarantine protocol regime. So it's really a good time for us to be having these discussions. When confronted with the possibility of not having access to critical health-related items, as I mentioned earlier, aside from touching base and coordinating with friends, including from Turkey, our manufacturing sector has quickly also repurposed, such that right now, in terms of face masks, for example, the N88 surgical face mask, at the beginning of pandemic, we are producing about 6 million, only 6 million pieces per month, and all exported. We did not restrict exports of any products from the Philippines, including the very critical products that we badly needed. Instead, what we did was to try to help our producers so that they could invest more and increase their manufacturing capacity, such that as we speak, in just over 4 months. So we were producing before 6 million pieces of masks per month. Right now, we are producing 60 million pieces of N8, and we are also exporting already some of these. We are also already producing the medical grade coveralls, the personal protective equipment that are badly needed by the frontliners, the medical frontliners. I think this is one area that the Philippines and Turkey can collaborate on because we have a very robust garments industry. Unfortunately, we do not have the textile industry. I note that our Ambassador Raul Hernandez, has been going around and talking to Turkish investors, Turkish textile industry pillars to try to see the possibility of putting up a textile facilities also in the Philippines so that we can have a co-invest or co-in a textile mill. Then we can use the textile coming from that mill to produce garments that will then be able to export to the ASEAN region and to the whole of Asia. And also the Philippines has a very robust and growing domestic demand. It's also a good opportunity to explore, for instance, retail for garments and other fashion items in the Philippines. As you may well know, because of the pandemic, our economy of about 110 million people is largely also driven by a huge consumer base. A consumer base that is quite large with rapidly growing income. Unfortunately, during this pandemic period, it has been hit hard because of the lockdowns and the need for people to stay in their homes. The average Filipinos have not been able to go out and shop. As a result, one of the sectors that was badly killed was also the retail sector. But that is also an opportunity because what we're seeing here is that next year, once the economic recovery is already on the way, we expect a very sharp V-shaped recovery. From a sharp downturn, we expect a very sharp upturn. And that is a good opportunity for Turkish companies to explore the Philippines, especially as assets at this time, for instance, retail locations may be at depressed prices. So it's a good opportunity to go to the Philippines, explore opportunities while the prices are a bit more reasonable at this time. Now, as I mentioned, the Philippine economy contracted by 16.5% last quarter. This is largely, as I mentioned, due to the decline in household consumption and private sector investment. But we are seeing a sharp recovery, especially once a vaccine is discovered or a protocol for treating the COVID virus illness is firmly in place. So we expect that to be among the sectors in the Philippines. What is growing is, as was mentioned by Madam Minister Batur, is the infrastructure spending. We are continuing on with the build projects that have been planned and are currently being implemented. In fact, there are certain build high-profile projects that are being inaugurated even as we speak. So this is a good opportunity, and we recognize the strong competence of Turkish construction companies in this area. So it's also a good opportunity, especially as there is now a shift also in terms of how we fund these infrastructure projects. Whereas before, the preference is for more ODA and government funding. Right now, Philippine government, because we will be focusing on spending really for COVID-related investments. Then for infrastructure, we are again reopening it for PPP or public-private partnership type of arrangements. So this is a good opportunity. That's very clearly, for instance, the Board of Investments, which I head, from January to July of this year, our total approved investments have even increased by 120% compared with the same period of last year. And this is driven mainly by investments in the more medium to long-term type of sectors, including in infrastructure. So, for instance, the planned investment in a modern airport for the Philippines, somewhere north of Manila, has proceeded. It will in fact be breaking ground this October. So in terms of, and also, for instance, investments in telecoms have been continuing. So there are pockets of opportunities that are open for Turkish businessmen to explore. So again, just to emphasize, the sectors that we could be considering in terms of collaboration, just for the information for our friends from the business community who are right here with us: manufacturing, agriculture, fishery and forestry, strategic services, healthcare services, mass housing, infrastructure and logistics, innovation drivers, environment and climate change related projects. The defense industry remains to be very robust. For instance, as was mentioned by Zain earlier, Philippines, one of our biggest imports from Turkey last year has been imports of revolvers and pistols for our defense industry. We also continue to give incentives, and we are further enhancing the incentives that we provide to investors. So just to also reiterate the call of Madam Minister Batur to our business community, please explore really. We can only provide the right policy framework, but in terms of actually taking advantage of this policy framework, this collaboration at the policy level between our two countries, it would have to be the business community. And we'd like to reassure you that from the Turkey side, we've already heard Madam Minister Batur, and from the Philippine side, we are reassuring you that we are here to fully support any collaboration that can be explored by our business community. Again, our thanks to the DEİK, to the Philippines-Turkey Business Association, and to the Philippines and Turkey embassies, as well as to our colleagues from the Ministry of Trade and Industry of Turkey. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your investments, trade, and further partnerships between our two countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellency Rodolfo. In the meantime, thank you so much. And then we also thank our Excellency Minister Batur. Thank you so much, Madam, joining us. We hope to see you. We know you need to leave. Thank you so much for joining us. And now what we need to do is we would like to, if you don't mind, I would like to give the floor to our Excellency Artemis Suvar, our ambassador in Manila. Madam Ambassador, the floor is yours. Thank you. Efendim çalış, efendim unmute yapmanız lazım şeyi. Mute'de kalmış efendim şey. Hala mute efendim. Biz açabiliyor muyuz arkadaşlar acaba? Sayın Büyükelçimizin.
Oldu mu?
Ha, oldu efendim, oldu. Tamamdır.
Good afternoon. Excellency Gonca Batur, Deputy Minister of Trade, Excellency Severino Rodolfo, Deputy Secretary of Trade and Industry, Mr. Nail Olpak, President of DEİK, Mr. İlker, my dear colleague, Excellency Raul Hernandez, and of course, Mr. İlkem Şahin, co-chair of the Turkey-Philippine Business Council, and distinguished Turkish and Filipino businessmen. Really, first of all, I would like to thank the President, Mr. Nail Olpak, for organizing this successful webinar, which reunites us with our Deputy Ministers of Trade. We highly value our long-term friendly relations with the Philippines. Turkey attaches a special importance to further developing political and economic relations with the Philippines, which she considers as a reliable friend and a potential economic in Southeast Asia. Of course, our bilateral ties have gained considerable ground over the years. We are proud to have celebrated the 70th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations between our countries. But unfortunately, it was not possible to organize all activities as planned because, unfortunately, of the pandemic. We believe that we can strengthen and diversify our trade relations, which are far from reflecting the rich economic potential of our countries, by increasing bilateral visits and meetings at all levels among our relevant authorities and our businessmen. I'm glad that we share a common will to further enhance our relations, which I have strongly felt and clearly noticed during all of my courtesy visits to the Philippines secretaries since my appointment assignments to Manila. The most important event to come concerning the economy will be the meeting of the Second Joint Economic Commission, which was planned to held in the first 6 months of 2020. but unfortunately, you know, this meeting had to be postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. There is no doubt that important new decisions will be taken to deepen and reinforce our bilateral relations. Of course, the regular meetings of the Turkish-Philippines Business Council constitute the most important occasion for the businessmen of our country to discuss new areas of collaboration. A very successful meeting of the Council has been organized in July 2019 thanks to co-president of the Turkish-Philippines Council, Mr. Shai. There is a strong potential to develop our relations in defense also industries. In this framework, we are glad that the sale agreement of 6 attack helicopters has been signed recently. It will certainly increase significantly the bilateral trade volume. A successful large-scale infrastructure projects are at work all around the Philippines within the Build program put forward by President Rodrigo Duterte. As it is known, Turkey is the world's second largest contractors after China and before USA. We believe that this program opens important opportunities to cooperate in this sector. The Philippine secretaries called the Turkish businessmen to invest in these projects. Our businessmen can also take part in the projects in Southeast Asia financed by the Asian Development Bank. I would like also to underline that the Turkish Airlines, it's very important, direct flights between Istanbul and Manila are contributing to the development of our economic relations. Turkey has also an important initiative called Asia Anew, which was officially announced in August 2019 by my minister, Mevlüt Çavuşoğlu. As you may know, our country is the easternmost European and westernmost Asian country. We enjoy deep-rooted historical, cultural, and linguistic ties with Asia. This initiative is a long-term endeavor which aims to refocus on this continent and boost mutually beneficial political, military, economic, commercial, educational, and cultural cooperation with Asian partners. In this context, we aim to foster our bilateral relations with 10 Southeast region countries, as well as the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, as the key organization in this region. Also, there is APEC, of course. We know the very active role of the Philippines as one of the founding countries of this organization. We are particularly pleased to our sectoral dialogue partner application, that our sectoral dialogue partner application was approved by the ASEAN member states at the 50th Foreign Ministers meeting held in Philippines in July 2017. We believe that our sectoral dialogue partnership will bring a new momentum to our relations with individual ASEAN member states as well, particularly in the field of trade and economic cooperation in both official and the private sectors. Currently, Turkey has allocated a budget of $1 million to the projects to be carried out under our dialogue partnership. There is also the Asian Cooperation Dialogue. This is also an important other mechanism. I would like to underline that Turkey is assuming the chairmanship of the Asian Cooperation Dialogue, ACD, which is another important large platform where all ASEAN countries are also very active. We are planning to hold the 17th ACD Ministers meeting in January 2021 under the theme, The New Normal and Safe and Healthy Tourism. On the sidelines of its ministerial meeting, we will also hold the first ACD Chambers of Commerce and ACD Health Ministers meeting, where we will discuss the important aspects of our joint efforts in the face of the pandemic. Then the agenda is very heavy and very important. Before ending my speech, I would like to stress the importance of consulting with our commercial section, of course, in the embassy. We are always ready to help and inform our valuable Turkish and Filipino businessmen. Please consult us before to come or to begin a new project. And at last, sağlıcakla kalın and mabuhay. And thank you very much for all.
Thank you so much, Excellency, Ambassador Sumer. Now I would love to give the floor to Excellency Hernandez.
I can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much, Excellency. Now I would like to give the floor to Excellency Hernandez, Ambassador of Philippines in Ankara. Floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Honorable Undersecretary Severino Rodolfo, Honorable Deputy Minister Yonca
Yine
Yılmaz
gitti
Batur,
ses ama göremiyorum. Ha, mute. Galiba şuradan buldum. Dur. Tamam.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, we can.
Excellency Ambassador Artemis Sumer, DEİK President Neil Olpak, DEİK Turkey Philippines Business Council Chairman Elkem Şahin, Philippine-Turkey Business Council Chairman Ernesto Chua, our commercial attachés, friends and partners from Turkey and from the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Ankara.
Hayır, yok
Günaydın
öyle bir
ve
cümle bu
merhaba.
sefer gelmedi.
Please allow me to express our gratitude to the Foreign Economic Relations Board of Turkey, or DEİK, for organizing this important digital meeting today. I also wish to acknowledge the efforts of our good friend, Mr. Şahin, who, upon learning that I assumed the chairmanship of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Ankara Committee last month, immediately proposed co-organizing today's event along with the Philippine Embassy in Ankara. The Philippines-Turkey have been important partners since our country established diplomatic relations more than 70 years ago. We have seen this relationship develop and expand in various areas. In the past 3 years alone, agreements in the fields of defense, agriculture, education, investment promotion, and tourism were signed. Turkey is also a steadfast partner to help us achieve peace in southern Philippines. as a science sectoral dialogue partner accorded during the Philippines chairmanship of ASEAN in 2017. While these developments may indicate a relationship that is traveling apace, the truth is that our bilateral economic engagement remains below potential. Last year, trade volume reached only around $200 million US, a clear indication that there is significant room for growth. However, recent developments in our economic relations give reason for optimism. In 2018, the Philippines and Turkey celebrated a significant milestone, the convening of the first ever Philippine-Turkey Joint Committee on Economic and Technical Cooperation, where positive discussions were held on a wide array of areas for cooperation, which also include the trade aspect of people-to-people and cultural exchanges. We expect trade volume to reach its peak within the next 2 years as our countries deepen cooperation in defense industry. Recently, we have concluded, as was already pointed out by Ambassador Artemis, agreements for the purchase of defense products from Turkey with a combined total value of nearly $300 million US. We had hoped to convene the second Philippines-Turkey Joint Committee for Economic and Technical Cooperation early this year to further expand commercial ties. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic happened. And at the onset of the pandemic, the Philippines imposed one of the longest and strictest lockdowns in the world. However, the Philippines is still in the thick of the battle against COVID-19. On this note, please allow me to express our gratitude to Chairman Elkim Shaheen, who, in an act of generosity and goodwill, donated 100,000 units of face masks to the Philippines to aid our battle against COVID-19. Thank you, Mr. Shaheen. I would also like to thank Chairman Ernesto Chua for his donation to help our OFWs in Turkey. Already, the pandemic has taken its toll on the Philippine economy. Philippine economy shrunk by 16.5% in the second quarter of the year. Experts predict the economy to shrink by a total of 5.5% by the end of the year. We also expect unemployment levels to rise and remittances from overseas Filipino workers valued at an average of $30 billion US per year to drop. To caution the economic fallout of COVID-19, our government is continuing to implement measures of an ambitious and far-reaching economic recovery plan called Four-Pillar Socioeconomic Strategy against COVID-19, valued at over $35 billion US, representing 9.1% of our GDP. Already signs of recovery are emerging. Manufacturing production, exports, imports have rebounded as the pace of decline slows. The Philippine peso is at its strongest level in almost 4 years, and COVID-19 notwithstanding, is the best performing currency in Asia. Our central bank also projects inflation to hover at around only 2.3% this year. We are optimistic that the Philippine economy will bounce back strongly in 2021. Our GDP is expected to grow at a rapid rate of 8 to 9% in 2021. It is within this context that I am certain of the opportunities waiting for Turkish businesses and investors in the Philippines in the areas of trade, investment, and tourism. First, the Philippines has a large domestic market of 110 million people with an average age of 25 years old. Strong domestic consumption is a large contributor to our economic performance. We continue to perform well in information technology and business process management, electronics, and retail sectors. We are also home to a highly skilled and well-educated workforce that is fluent in English, a very important skill investors look for. Second, we are liberalizing our legislation to attract more foreign investors to the Philippines. 2 years ago, we concluded the Ease of Doing Business Act to cut bureaucratic processes, simplify requirements, and streamline procedures for businesses and entrepreneurs. We are also liberalizing restrictions on foreign ownership across various industries to allow 100% foreign participation. We are crafting fiscal and economic reform measures and complementary bills that will open up our country to more foreign direct investments. Third, we have embarked on the Build, Build, Build program, which has already been discussed by the previous speakers. And through this program, we will be constructing a multitude and we have constructed and continue to construct a multitude of roads, railways, airports, ports, and other infrastructure projects. We believe that the Build, Build, Build program is the best way to revive the economy due to infrastructure's high multiplier effect, stimulating demand and generating new jobs and businesses. We are aware that Turkey is the world's second largest contractor, and we encourage your construction companies to participate through contracting, joint ventures, consortiums, and PPP. Fourth, we are a credit-worthy country. Fitch Ratings, Moody's Investor Service, S&P Global Ratings recently affirmed good ratings for the Philippines with stable outlooks in recognition of the strong macroeconomic fundamentals of our country and an affirmation of our creditworthiness. Japan Credit Rating Agency recently gave the Philippines the coveted A grade level for the first time. Fifth, we have embarked on sustainable tourism initiatives resulting in a record of 8.2 million tourist arrivals to the Philippines last year. It is credited as a major contributor to the Philippines' GDP by over 12%. Turkey's beautiful historic and religious destinations need no introduction to Filipinos. Last year, 140,000 Filipinos visited Turkey, the most ever recorded, and an increase of 46% from the previous year. In the same period, we welcomed only 8,654 Turkish nationals to our shores. I strongly believe that the Philippines, with its world-famous beaches, award-winning resorts, and natural sites of intense beauty, can rival that of any destination in Southeast Asia. It is my job, therefore, to continue promoting the Philippines until my country becomes your first choice for tourism and leisure in Southeast Asia. Sixth, the Philippines is a natural entry point and gateway to ASEAN, the fifth largest economy in the world. It is a market composed of more than 648 million people with a combined GDP of around $3 trillion and an average per capita of $4,600. The Philippines, through the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, has duty-free entry to China, Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and India. We also enjoy access to the European market through the European Union General Scheme of Preferences. The Philippines is also a U.S. GSP beneficiary, with 70% of the Philippine exports entering the US duty-free. We are fast becoming one of the most ideal investment destinations for companies wishing to expand operations in Asia and the Pacific. These are just of the many ways we can maximize the relationship between the Philippines and Turkey. We are confident that there will be more economic engagements in the coming years. We're hoping to organize business seminars with Philippine officials in key cities in Turkey to discuss with Turkish companies opportunities for trade and investments in the Philippines in the coming months. This is exactly the reason behind the renewed push for greater bilateral partnership. To take stock of developments in our partner economies, open more doors for economic partnerships, and expand opportunities for greater two-way trade and investment, all done with the aim of deepening ties to promote economic activities that generate more employment and livelihood for both our peoples. Thank you, Chok Secular Ederin, and Mabuhay.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you so much. We're able to, and these are the pretty much a wrap up of the talks. And now I would like to use the advantage of not to waste any kind of time, because I know everybody has a schedule. So I would like to get the question and answer session, because we did have a lot of questions. So if you don't mind, I don't want to waste any time. So the first question goes to our dear friend, Deputy Minister Rodolfo. Sir, esteemed Deputy Minister, there are a lot of important topics to cover. But as the first question goes to you, I would like to draw the attention to the free trade agreement issue that I believe is crucial for the bilateral trade between our countries, and especially for the regional comprehensive economic partnership among ASEAN member countries. So are there any plans for a free trade agreement between the Philippines and Turkey? And could you please refer to any of the benefits of the prospective agreement? Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, thank you very much, Zain, for asking that question. In fact, that was the very reason why I went there last April 5, 2019, the Secretary of Trade and Industry, because at that time, we believe that Turkey has been having some economic difficulties. I remember that your exchange rate was has fast depreciating, but the Secretary Mon Lopez has immediately dispatched me. He knew that I was going to Europe, and he said, on the way back, don't forget to stop by Turkey just to show them our full support to them, even at this time. He said that we believe in the fundamental strength of the Turkish economy, and as a way of demonstrating that firm belief, offer to them that we will be exploring in the next JCETC a preferential trading agreement as a first step towards an FTA. The objective is really to have an FTA with Turkey. We would like to be your preferred partner in Asia, especially in ASEAN. We have been fully supportive of Turkish application for bilateral dialogue partner with ASEAN in 2017. Where if we are very much situated in terms of, number one, Turkey could be our gateway to Europe, but that's only a secondary benefit for us. Our main objective is really Turkey for the Turkish market. It's a strong market that we believe we can. There's a good room for win-win collaboration. And then Philippines, again, the domestic market, and as an entry point to ASEAN and to Asia. Just very quickly, Zain, 2 more minutes. When I was in Ankara and in Istanbul, we've been going around shops. It's very difficult for me to see any China-made products, from consumer electronics, home appliances, kitchen appliances, textile, garments. There are many things that are made in Turkey and at very, very good quality. For me, the easiest way for me to describe Turkish products to Filipinos, for those who have not been to Turkey, I say Europe quality, if not even better than Europe quality, but very, very competitive price. And then they get to be interested. So it's these types of things. But then again, I don't see tropical products in your country. So there's very good collaboration really for our two sides. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister. So it was very helpful. And second question, I would like to refer to our President, dear President Olpak. Sir, I have two questions, first of all. And first of all, the one question is from participants, one question is from me. Sir, first of all, I would like to know what's your secret of keeping up these meetings every day like this, representing DEİK for 2 months on this pandemic time, having minimum 20, 30 meetings a day. How do you keep up with this? That's first question. And then the second question is, sir, I know you value ASEAN a lot, so that's why we have started during the Asia Pacific Business Council, we have started ASEAN Working Committee under your leadership. So what do you think about that, sir? What is your opinion about that, about this, our ASEAN Working Committee? What's your vision on that, sir? Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President.
Let me start with the first question. There is no secret on that. We are having a teamwork all together, you know, having really a valuable 146 business councils. This was a value before, but we noticed that under these pandemic conditions, we should continue our way. So how we are going to do? Then we realized that either you are in your car or you are in your summer house or your home at office, whenever it is. If you are eager to work and if you have enough infrastructure that is coming from our business councils, from our people working for DEİK, and also thanks to them, ambassadors, trade attaches, and all the supporters, the ministers. So it is giving me enough secret, I believe so.
Thank you.
So when it comes to ASEAN, yes, in the region, in Asia Pacific region, as DEİK, we have 19 business councils. So it is quite important. And when we look at, again, the volume of the ASEAN bloc, that is 10-member regional bloc, with a combined GDP of 2.8 trillion and a population of 650 million. Of course, as DEİK, having too much business councils over there, we couldn't be far away from that. For that reason, as you know, you are also in that committee, we just, let's say, set up this ASEAN Business Councils Committee. It is an extra committee apart from that our business council. And the aim is just to remember it. Turkey and ASEAN adopted a 5-year roadmap for collaboration starting from July 2019 with a roadmap of practical cooperation areas that will serve as the overall framework for engagement and cooperation between ASEAN and Turkey. At this point, I believe we should be, and we are, eager to develop joint projects with ASEAN countries. And thanks to our ministers, business council people, and ambassadors, I believe they are going to help us too much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was great. And now relating to this question, as you know, Excellency Hernandez is now chairing the Committee of ASEAN Ambassadors in Ankara. So, Ambassador Hernandez, Turkey is now a sectoral dialogue partner of ASEAN since 2017, I'm sure you know. With this ambitious Asia NU initiative launched in 2019, we are determined to diversify our trade and investment partners and aiming for more cooperation with the Asia Pacific countries, including the Philippines. In this regard, what should be your advice to have more collaboration in bilateral trade and investment relations and Turkey's engagement with ASEAN? What should be the role of the business community? Can you specify some examples and cooperation that would you point out for the near future? Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Mr. Shaheen. I think what is very important on the outset is to make sure that the Turkish businessmen and women are aware of our climate, our business climate in the Philippines and in ASEAN, and also that there are opportunities that they can exploit or use in order to improve or enhance our bilateral trade and investment. So that is exactly what we are trying to do here in Turkey. You know, go around Turkey, key cities, and meet with the Chamber of Commerce and Industries and make sure that they are aware of the opportunities, the rich opportunities that we have in ASEAN and also especially in the Philippines, which they could use in order to make sure that trade between two peoples are enhanced for the good of our of both countries. So that's one. But also, in reference to your question earlier, I think we have to work for the Turkey-Philippines Free Trade Agreement. Yeah, many businessmen have been asking me about that, and even some of the ambassadors from ASEAN have been inquiring if we are ready to have or to negotiate a trade agreement with Turkey. And they think, and businessmen think, that this is necessary to enhance our bilateral trade and investment. So let's focus on that and also make sure that more official exchanges, not only between government officials, but also between chambers of commerce and industry between the two countries are effectively implemented so that this people-to-people exchanges would support our need to improve our trade and investment between the Philippines and Turkey. Thank you.
Ambassador, thank you so much. I'll try to squeeze more question. I'm on my schedule. So now the last question, not the last, but the second question to Deputy Minister Rodolfo. Sir, one of our members is a prominent healthcare IT system company, and then they have an important question. They are one of the biggest stakeholder of Turkish Ministry of Health, serving end-to-end healthcare informatics. So I'm sure Deputy Minister Rodolfo, Turkey has been very advanced in the health issues. I'm sure you have been following up. Our health minister has been successful, significantly improved a lot of things in different angles. So we have been very successful even in the COVID management. They are asking this question. They are in artificial intelligence on health, this company, early detection of lung and breast cancer solutions locally and worldwide for 34 years. They're asking if there will be any requirements of healthcare information solutions in the Philippines and how they shall proceed. And this can be able to help for our other companies as well.
Well, thank you very much, Zain. Very, very interesting question. Indeed, if you look at the sectors in the Philippines that have been growing despite the COVID-19 pandemic, health sector is number one. And in particular, if you look at opportunities, not just in the Philippines, but also in terms of opportunities within our region, and as we move towards the west for the US, Canada, etc. market, there is strong opportunity for serving these markets in terms of health information management systems. The best way to move forward, I believe, but I can be wrong and they can pursue something different, but I believe it will be best if they partner with a local company already in the Philippines. We have an association called the HIMAP, Health Information Management Association of the Philippines. We can directly link them, your member company, and then our HIMAP, so that they could talk. Indeed, if there is one sector that fully demonstrates what President Olpak said, accessibility and not proximity, it is really these technology-enabled sectors, including on health information management system. For them to partner, Turkish and Philippine company, not just for our domestic market, although there is already a strong demand here for health information systems, but also to penetrate other markets in Asia and also in North America. Thank you.
Well, Deputy Minister, thank you so much. I cannot believe, everything that's, exactly scheduled. It's 12 o'clock and we're done. And then we got concluded. And then I asked you two questions, and I have asked everybody questions in behalf of DEİK, and then with the leadership of our President Daniel Olpak. I thank you, all of you guys, for participation, and with the support of our Turkish-Filipino business relations. I thank everybody each by each in the behalf of DEİK, also in the behalf of our President, Nail Olpak, if he permits me. So thank you so much. President, maybe last words of yours, and then we can close the things.
No, that's okay. Thank you so much, İlkan Bey. You made it very well. Thanks to the ministers and the ambassadors. I believe with your leadership from our side, we should do more.
Thank you, sir. Oh, good. I got them. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for participating to our participants. Hope to see you next webinar.
Thank you, President.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ambassador, President Olpak.
Excellency.
Deputy Minister, thank you. Bye.
Excellency, thank you. Activists. Thank you.
Thank you. Ambassador Sumer, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Forlan. Thank you.
Thank you.